Believe me, I joined at the lowest level of the pharmaceutical company. I joined as a medical representative. I wanted to understand what is this pharmaceutical industry all about? What do people go and tell to the doctors? Why are they doing this? When are they doing this? How are they doing this? The other is talking to the doctors. And that gave me that I need to, learning is a continuous process. Because if I have to discuss something with a doctor, I need to do it on an adult to adult platform. And therefore, my knowledge about disease and pharmacology should be much more than what the doctor has. The success of any organization depends on people. It's not only on product.
Correct.
You might have the brilliant best of the products, but if you don't have the brilliant people behind the product is nothing. Human resource is the scarcest resource which is there. Money you can get, it's floating in the air. You can get money, but getting a right human resource is very, very difficult.
Hello everyone, welcome to the new episode of Pharma Now. Today we have a veteran with us, Dr. Ashok Kumar Bhattacharya, former Managing Director of Takeda. Pleasure to have you here, sir. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, it's my pleasure too.
No, it's certainly my pleasure because I went through your journey and it is astonishing. It's amazing, and the one person who really dream about having a career, I think you're already lived that journey. So I really wanted to unfold that whole journey in today's conversation. Being how it feels like being a managing director of Takeda, or being a part of a big M&A, mergers and acquisition during the GSK time. All these big names, these names are big for us, right? So whenever names comes in, we look like, oh wow. So I really now wanted to unfold that, how it looks like.
First of all, I've been very fortunate to have worked for companies like GSK, Wellcome, Merck, Takeda. I have been really fortunate enough to have worked for these global research-based organizations. I have, one of the learnings from these organizations, and which kept me running, kept pumping in energy every now and then, was the patient-centricity.
Right.
Today it's a jargon, but when I joined 40 years back, during my training program in Burroughs Wellcome, the #1 British company, the foundation was like that you have joined an organization which looks after the health of patients. And believe me, I joined at the lowest level of the pharmaceutical company. I joined as a medical representative.
You started your career as an AMR?
As a medical representative.
Oh my God.
I wanted to understand what is this pharmaceutical industry all about?
Right.
What do people go and tell to the doctors? Why are they doing this? When are they doing this? How are they doing this? I wanted, I don't think these are the questions which were answered during my management days.
Correct.
So I wanted to understand, first-hand understanding of it, because I always thought if I can understand and know the ground realities, then only I can climb to the top and lead successfully.
Wow. So frankly, I always have this question, why MR always wears tie? And who are these guys during the afternoon time come in crowd with the doctors having a tie and everything? I always have that question in my mind when I was a child. Who are these guys and why these guys are coming in tie?
Right, absolutely right. Even, this thing came to my mind also. And particularly my background is my dad was a very eminent doctor. He was India who is who and all. So I also used to feel. But those days, it was the multinational companies who used to dominate the market, and it was like a dress code. It was like that IBM story that there are a couple of people waiting, but a gentleman is also waiting. The gentleman was in tie and all. So that's it. The second thing is also, it's not, it's a very comprehensive experience of sales and marketing. Because on one hand, you are talking to the elites of the society, the doctors, the healthcare professionals.
Right.
You are talking to hospital authorities. Again, somebody is there. At the same time, you are also talking to pharmacy stores, not very educated.
Yeah.
You are talking to the distributors, not very educated.
Correct.
So you have technocrats and these business guys. So the amount of learning which used to be there, how does a business guy allocate his or her resources towards an organization, towards a product, is something which I learned from that.
And the canvas is also large.
Yeah, canvas is large. Why will they invest in my product? Why will they invest in my company?
Yeah.
Because he is sitting there, he has got a pile of money, he wants a return on investment.
Right.
That's something which I learned.
Amazing.
The other is talking to the doctors. And that gave me that I need to, learning is a continuous process. Because if I have to discuss something with a doctor, I need to do it on an adult to adult platform. And therefore, my knowledge about disease and pharmacology should be much more than what the doctor has. Because then only I can create a need for my offering in the minds of the doctor.
Correct.
So it was a great learning as such. And I was not a medical representative for too long. And I had spread across geographies because in those days it used to be said if you have worked in Bihar and UP and if you are successful, you can be successful anywhere in the world.
So where you started your career?
I started in Bihar. I worked in Patna, I worked in Jharkhand.
Wow.
So I spent time over there. So what? You don't have the best of sophisticated stuff. But still, it's a learning. For learning, you have to do everything.
Okay, right.
And then I became a first-line manager and I came to Bombay. That was my first time in Bombay. From a village to a metro.
So you started your career from Bihar and you are originally from Jharkhand.
Jharkhand.
Okay, interesting.
So I just did my schooling from Jharkhand, that's it.
Okay.
Nothing else.
Okay.
But then another 1.5 years, I moved on to second line manager. So the first line manager, I came to Bombay. It's the most difficult place to survive. If you don't have a shelter, it's very difficult to survive. The second thing is I wanted to understand about people differences in different regions. So I have seen one part of the country. I said, okay, let me have a metro experience. I got that. And within 1.5 years, I moved as a second line manager. The other thing also, as a first line manager, I learned that how to get things done. As a medical rep, I used to do things. I used to get commands. But as a first line manager, I started learning how to get things done. Then I moved to a second line manager and I was responsible for entire West Bengal, Assam and all. And that stint was for around 9 months. But that gave me a learning of how to manage large teams, how to provide directions, what type of a clear communication needs to be there, how do you monitor. So those are the learnings in those 9 months. And then I came back to Bombay head office and I was into marketing. I had a successful stint in marketing as a group product manager. That was because I could understand what doctors want to listen and what doctors don't want to listen.
You started your career as a MR.
Yeah. The second thing is I learned that I can build a lot of strategies in this AC room, but that needs to be implemented.
Yeah.
So, my first point of sales is to my internal people, the medical representatives, the first line managers, the second line managers, who will really implement that. And that stint of my field stint gave me the full experience of running, and I was a group product manager, and I successfully got
So
into
which company?
Welcome, but it was Welcome.
Okay.
And then I became a marketing manager, so looking after. So again, marketing manager, how do you manage human resources? How do you manage financial resources? So those are the things I again learned.
Correct.
And I could excel. Luckily, I had good bosses. In fact, one of the boss of mine, maybe that used to curse at that point of time, but he has been the guru of pharmaceutical industry, who started the first pharmaceutical management course, and he was none less than late Dr. Tarun Gupta.
Okay.
Yeah. So, tremendous amount of learning under pressure from that person.
Wow.
And he's the person who started pharmaceutical management in India.
Wow.
So that was it. And then the Glaxo Wellcome merged, and luckily I was in the committee which was looking at the merger and did well. So I got the opportunity to spearhead an acquisition of an Indian company.
Wow.
And merge it into Glaxo Wellcome, which was done successfully. And I had a very good managing director, Homi Kushukan, and he gave me all the liberty and said, this is your task, you need to accomplish it. Don't come to me for everything. If you need something very urgent, you need my intervention, you come. And that's a learning for me. So I said, if I am progressing because of this type of an attitude from my boss, I think I should emulate the same thing when I work with my juniors. So that was another learning.
Giving of freedom.
Giving freedom, and don't sit on the head of people. Involve them. So that's what I learned from him. Then was GlaxoSmithKline, which was there. And again, I had the managing director, Kal Sundaram. He said, top line is good, but what is there without a profitable top line?
Yeah. It's all about bottom line.
It's all about that. And that's the learning that I had. Yes, I am selling, but at what cost? I'm marketing at what cost? I'm providing medications at what cost? And that's where the commercial acumen came into. And he said that, yes, we will market formulations at an affordable cost where majority of patients will be having access to it, but at the same time, it's a profitable top line for me. So that was another learning which was there. The other thing was when I moved on to Merck and I was managing the entire commercial operations and managing the senior director, I learned about the contract sales organization. So the responsibility was to manage in-house field force and at the same time manage contract sales organization. That was a great learning. At an arm's length, how do you control? How do you manage? How do you deliver? So those were the big, every organization that I was in, I was lucky enough to get positions wherein I have learned. Came into Takeda, it was launching the company into India, attracting the best of the talents, retaining the best of the talents. And one thing is what I understood, being into the OPPI Executive Committee, CII National Executive Committee, working with the Japanese consulate, one thing which I learned is As a managing director, my job is not to every day ask a figure of what has happened. Because that's a commercial guy's responsibility. He or she will deliver that. We discuss in the beginning of the month and we evaluate at the end of the month. That's it. Otherwise, you are not creating a pipeline for the future. If you have to create a pipeline for the future, you need to give both responsibility and accountability. So that's something I learned. And where did I spend my more time? I spend more time with HR because the success of any organization depends on people.
Very interesting.
It's not only on product.
Correct.
You might have the brilliant best of the products, but if you don't have the brilliant people behind the product is nothing.
Well said. Well said.
And therefore, spending more time with the HR, how do we attract the best of the talents? How do we retain the talents? How do we create a future pipeline for the organization? What are the succession plannings? How do we make the job more interesting? How can we make work a fun? I think those are certain elements which I really enjoyed.
But I feel this what you explain as a role of managing director is very different, right? I agree. HR, people management is the most important stuff. But being an MD and getting involved into such a level of HR and engagement activities, tremendous, amazing. But I wanted to know more about it. What was your typical philosophy while hiring or grooming people? What was your philosophy?
Yeah. One of the things, in fact, the HR guy was also taken aback when I said, senior positions, I myself used to look at it at the last before taking a decision.
Correct.
So I was a bit choosy on that. So I used to always define that, okay, I need a person not only for today, but I need a person for tomorrow. So how do I determine? I'm meeting you for the first time. How do I know whether you are the most suitable person?
Correct.
Now, people normally look at only the domain expertise. Domain expertise you can buy. Domain expertise you can, get into. What about the softer skills? Is there a passion? So now you can ask me a question. How do you determine a passion? Is the body language.
Okay.
At the time of conversation, and it's not an interview. At the time of recruitment, it should not be a question-answer session.
Right.
It needs to be a candid conversation by which you can unfold that whether you have a passion for it or not. You can unfold through the body language, whether you are arrogant or you are adaptable to change, whether you embrace challenges or you hate challenges.
Correct.
So if you have a candid conversation, make the person very comfortable, be with a smiling face so that the candidate also doesn't have any fear, be very relaxed and have it in a different environment. I never used to sit on chairs for the interviews. It used to be on the sofas. There is a change. The moment I sit in this type of chairs, it's like something very serious going on. Formal serious.
Yeah.
When I sit on a sofa, it's different.
Very true.
And that's where you can get the best out of the candidate as such.
A tricky question, sir. Here.
Yeah.
I also typically do the HR rounds for the organization. And I also luckily I also try to do it on sofas or something. What is the success ratio?
It's very high. Very high success ratio. Believe me, I have hardly misfired.
Wow.
I have hardly misfired.
How you acquire this skill to identify the right talent?
I was never a frog in the well. I used to look at what a ponds guy is doing, or a liver guy is doing, or a PNG guy is doing.
Cross industry.
Yes, cross industry. And that's where I used to talk to a lot of HR people. In fact, in OPPI, I used to chair the HR committee.
Okay.
Is because I used to like to talk to them, because I believed organizations are run by people. It's not a machine.
Yeah.
Even a factory, a manufacturing unit is not run by machine, but is the man behind the machine which runs the machine.
True that.
So that's where I developed a keen interest into the HR area of how do I effectively manage human resource. Because human resource is the scarcest resource which is there. Money you can get, it's floating in the air. You can get money.
Right.
But getting a right human resource is very, very difficult. And therefore, if the organization needs to succeed, that's an area where you need to put time and effort. For example, people feel training and development is a cost center. To me, it's a revenue center. It's not a cost center, because I'm imparting the skills which will give me better productivity. And therefore, the productivity will give me revenue. So I have never seen it as a cost center. I have seen it as a revenue center.
Wow. Nice.
So people used to tell me that I think quite radically, not like a typical. I would also like to share an experience. So, there was a position of a marketing manager. And people were all looking at, we are entering into this therapeutic segment. So the brief from the commercial to the HR was that you need to target these companies who are strong in this therapy area, and we need somebody from there to
Get
come
the resources from
and resources from there. Yeah. So when the management team meeting was going on, I said, I differ. And I will not recruit a person from the same domain. And I said my reason. When I recruit from the same therapy area or domain, it will come with a baggage of biased thoughts.
Yes.
And I don't want that. If I want to be successful, if I am a late entrant into this therapy area, I need to be successful, otherwise I don't enter. And I will hire somebody out of pharmaceuticals. I will not take anybody from pharmaceutical. I will take somebody out of pharmaceutical.
Correct.
So people said, we might fail. The person doesn't know. I said, the person need not know. The person needs to have the basic principles, and the person needs to have passion.
Yes.
The person will learn in 1 week's time about a disease, about a therapy, about the market.
Correct.
Don't worry about it. If there is an issue, I own the responsibility and accountability.
Right.
If there are any negative or downsides, if there are upsides, I give the full credit to you. I don't take a credit for this decision. I give it to HR and the commercial end.
Wow. Amazing. I think that is where the leaders come in picture. This is the leadership what it is.
Yeah. And that made successful.
Amazing.
And people were happy.
So here I have a question. You being a part of various companies, and interestingly what I am observing is you being part of company from UK, US, Japan, all this different leadership. Japan is more like Eastern thoughts, UK is different thoughts, US is different. Which you like most?
So, there was a common thread.
Okay.
So between the British company, the German company, and the Japanese company,
Yeah.
the common thread was ethics and compliance.
Okay.
For example, you may not be delivering the top line. No issues.
Okay.
But if you compromise on compliance or ethics, the door is open. So that's something which I liked, a common thing between that. You asked a very interesting question is, British organizations, the culture is quite different.
Yep.
Absolutely different. But it's easy to adopt and adapt to the British culture.
Okay.
German culture is very tough.
Yeah.
Very, very tough. And it's more of a dictatorship type of a culture which is there.
Yeah.
Very difficult. Very difficult to adopt to that. Japanese culture is a culture of trust, is a culture of fairness. So the British and the Japanese used to match quite a lot in terms of trust, honesty, fairness, these type of things. Open, these things were there. So every culture had something which you cherish and you learn from every culture. And then you can adapt it to the Indian situation. There will be directives from the global headquarters, but then how do you adapt it to the Indian situation is more important, because you know the ethos, you know the culture, and therefore how do you take it forward.
Correct. Amazing. So, in this whole 40-45 years of journey, who are those inspirational figures in your life from whom you have learned a lot?
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier also, the first one was late Dr. Tarun Gupta, from whom I have done. I have learned about the humbleness and a very, I would say, participative way of management is from Homi Kushokan, the former Managing Director of GSK and of GW, not GSK, GW. And then he was also the former Managing Director of Tata Tea.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, from him. The second thing is on the commercial stuff, I have learned from Cal Sundaram, who was in GSK Managing Director and then moved on to Sun Pharma as their US head and then India head. Three people, three different types of behaviors that has really helped me to shape. I had another boss, Mr. Kashyap, in GSK. From him, the customer centricity is something which I learned. He was talking to one of my product managers, and they were launching a paracetamol drop.
Okay.
So the question he came and asked in an informal way, "You're launching this. Whom are you targeting? Have you met those customers?" "Yeah, I met doctors," is that. "Have you ever sat in a pediatrician's clinic and see how the mother brings the child, how the mother speaks to the doctor, and how does the mother behave?" So that's what opened the eyes of customer centricity. You need to understand the customer, not only the doctor, but the end consumer, the patient. It's true, the mother behaves in a different way when the child is sick.
Agreed.
So you need to understand those behaviors as such. So that's something which has been very valuable for me.
Amazing.
On the HR side, my colleague, Dr. Shailesh Iyengar, who has been the managing director for Sanofi, now of course he is into consulting in the board of MCure and all. He was a person, is 200% an HR related person.
Amazing.
Every person, even today in Sanofi, keeps on talking, we miss this person, because the way he interacted with people, the way he managed people was something which very few leaders do.
Amazing.
So it's like you see the world, keep your eyes and ears open.
I think this is a very important message for all upcoming aspiring leaders. You need to keep your eye open and you need to keep learning. So I really don't want to stop, but I think because of the limit of the time, I think we should.
Sure.
But I'm sure this is a really wonderful and very insightful conversation I have ever had. Thanks for your insights and thanks for your time.
Thanks for the conversation. I really enjoyed, and more I enjoyed is getting to know you. And I really wish this publication a grand success.